Hey Reefers, RO units. Are they important? Yes, I believe they are very important for reef keeping, and maintenance on RO units are even more important. So this unit in front of me, this is a big boy. It's a 300 gallon per day unit. We need it for the shop as we sell RO water as well. I mean, if it was just for normal top-ups in our system and weekly water changes, the normal 50 gallon a day unit would be perfectly fine. Now, so for example, we're running a lot of RO here per day, and what we do is when our TDS starts to read, so as soon as it hits 1, we are changing our resin. We like to keep our RO at 0. We are providing RO to our clients, so we want to give them the best RO water we can give them, and also for all our inhabitants in the shop. So when the RO unit reads 1, we change our deionizing resin, like I said. But now what we do is, before we put our resin back into the system, we run our system through the TDS meter. So that way we know what our RO unit is still producing. So for example, when we got this out the box, this was producing 5 TDS. It was reading 0 TDS with the resin. So then every time we change our resin, we check our RO unit to see what the RO unit is producing. Once we start seeing a rise from that 5, we know the higher the TDS on this, yes, the resin will bring it down to 0 again, but the higher the TDS produced out of here, the shorter our resin will last. And the resin is the most expensive, being changed more frequently, especially in a unit this size and the amount of water that we're pushing. So we would look at changing all our filters as soon as we hit 10 TDS on the RO unit. I find is acceptable for the resin, still getting a good decent life out of the resin, but as soon as this hits higher than that, we either change the pre-filters, or if it's due for all the filters to be changed, then we'll change the pre-filters, which is your sediment, carbon. Some RO units only have 2 pre-filters, which will be sediment and carbon, and then we change our membranes. Now on a normal, I call them recreational, home use RO unit, you normally have 1 membrane, and that could be a 50 or a 75 on average is what they are, 75 gallon a day or 50 gallon a day. This system is a little bit different. I have 3 pre-filters. I have 3 membranes. They're 100 gallons a day membranes, giving me 300 gallons a day usage on my RO. And then I have a 20-inch resin chamber. So then what we're going to do now is just take you through the steps. Yes, this system is a big system, but it's the same concept as any other RO unit. You just change the filters as we're going to change them now. We're just going to do a run through of changing each filter, what to do before adding the next filter on. Okay, so this is an overview of this unit. This is a water boy. This is the Reef Master Tsunami, and it's a 300 gallon per day unit. Let's lift the hood. Okay, so there's one of the membranes, and then those there are pressure switches, low pressure, high pressure, and then there's another 2 membranes at the back. Okay, so let's get started in stripping this and then changing the filters. So with your RO unit, you should have got a tool that goes over your canisters, and this will help you to loosen it up. Once you've got that loose, it should be easy enough to take out with your hand. Okay, so there's going to be water in here still. I can't drain these. Okay, so once you've changed the pre-filters, you need to just run them for a little bit, because you know you're running carbon blocks there. So you want to just make sure there's no carbon dust left inside the filter. So you run it for about, say 5-10 minutes until, if you see any black stuff coming out, then you know that you need to run it until it's clear, at least. So now what you want to do is you want to disconnect your pre-filters from your membrane. So it doesn't run through the membranes at all. So you have already pre-installed 2 membranes here. Still need to install the membrane at the top. But the only reason I did those 2 first is because it's easier to get to without dismantling them. Just taking those 2 pre-filters out first to get to the 2 membranes at the back. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're just going to run it for a few minutes, clean out any residual carbon dust in the 2 carbon block filters, and then we'll change the main membrane, the top membrane. These units have little valves that allow to move all the air out from the canister. So once you see water come out the top, that's an indication that it's full. There we go. Okay, so I've connected up the pre-filters back up to the solenoid. So that now pre-filters have been rinsed. I should have shown you the first bucket that water was dirty. It was like a brown color, obviously all the carbon dust and that. And then second bucket I did show you there, the water was nice and clean. So that's all we want to do, is you don't want that muck coming from the filters into your brand new membranes. Okay, so let's change the last membrane, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so when removing a quick lock, all you do is you take out that little blue tab. There's a little piece here that's like spring loaded that retracts and pulls in and pulls out the teeth. When you push it down, it pulls the teeth in and allows you to pull the pipe out. Okay, so adding this back in, you push that into that, lift that little piece up, and then you can put your tab back in. Sometimes pushing the tab back in automatically pushes it up. I just like to do it so that I know that it's done properly. Okay, so then the next step is this is our good water, and this is our wastewater. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to just flush the system. Now this valve here is my flush valve. If I open that up, it allows the water to flow through here without building up pressure, so it means not forcing water through the membrane. So once again, just flushing out these sections here before running it through the membrane, and then I'll run it through the membrane for a few minutes, and then everything will be good. Okay, so yes, the wastewater is coming out a lot faster than the good water, the RO water, but that's just because I'm flushing the system at the moment. Okay, so after changing the bucket out and running it again, you can see the water is nice and clean. So there we go, it's ready. So now all we need to do is do our resin chamber. Okay, so now we're going to change the resin. Okay, this is For this unit, this is our resin chamber. To give you an idea, this is a standard resin chamber on a normal RO unit. Give you the idea of the volume of water we do here. So getting started, we first strip the canister. Drain the old water. So each, inside this 20-inch, I've got two 10-inch cartridges. On the side here, I have some water with some water to rinse this all out in. Okay, so now each 10-inch cartridge is nice and clean and it's ready for the resin. Okay, so now we add our resin. This is a color changing resin supplied by Waterboy. I do use the Waterboy units and change with the Waterboy filters. To give you an idea, my first RO unit from the Waterboy, I think was in 2000, so that'll be 22 years. And to let you know, it's a really good product, okay? My first one was replaced, I think it was about 10 years later. It was getting brittle, it was 10 years old. It had made a lot of RO water. You know, the holder that holds the two canisters, they do rust. Remember, we're in the marine game. So the stuff does rust, and I thought to myself, rather than replacing the odds and ends, it would just worked out better to buy a new unit. And then 2 years ago I got this one. So the one I replaced, the one before that, lasted me 10 years as well. I think I actually passed that one on. And obviously that one wasn't working well for the shop because I needed more than 50 gallons a day. Okay, now that taking forever with this bloody knot. There we go. Okay, so basically with the resin now, all I'm going to do is add equal amounts to each side, each 10-inch container. We've changed our pre-filters, our sediments and our carbon. We've flushed them, made sure the water that was coming out was clean. Then we changed our membranes, also flushed them until the water was clean, removing all the old, any old water that was in the system before running through the RO unit. Remember, we opened up our flush to allow the system to be flushed. Now, before connecting your resin, I'm not going to do this process now, it's pretty straightforward. You turn off your flush, so now you're producing RO water, and you run that for about 15 minutes before adding it to your resin. Once that's done, you're ready to make RO water. See you in our next video. Happy reefing!